Kalen Drax adjusted the seals on his combat suit as the transport shuttle drifted down toward the shimmering surface of Erinder Station. The landing pad rose from the city like a metallic flower, petals of alloy and living tissue fused into one. Artificial gravity pulled at him the moment the hatch cycled open, heavier than Earth standard, as though the world itself wanted to remind him he was far from home. His boots clanged softly on the platform, the matte plates of his titanium weave armor humming as onboard systems recalibrated. A calm, synthesized voice chimed in his earpiece. Atmosphere, breathable. Filtration module recommended. Local microbes are not lethal but will cause dermal irritation. Noted, Callie, Kalen muttered. Before him, the alien city unfolded, an elegant mixture of cold metal towers and bioluminescent organisms that pulsed like veins through glassy walls. The Arendorians had mastered biotechnology to such an extent that their buildings seemed half alive, as though the city itself breathed. A soft, melodic voice called out. Commander Drax. He turned. Approaching him with measured grace was Saris Vera, the station's liaison. Her skin shimmered in shades of deep violet, adorned with faint luminescent lines that traced along her collarbones and down her arms. Crimson hair braided into an intricate pattern spilled over one shoulder, catching the light of Erinder's twin suns. Her gaze, pale and glowing, assessed him without a flicker of warmth. I am your assigned guide, she said, inclining her head with ceremonial precision. The High Council permits access to our research facilities, though the sacred temples remain off-limits. You may call me Saris. Kalen straightened. Kalen Drax, Galactic Alliance Security Council. I appreciate your cooperation. The Council hopes your inspection will be swift and uneventful, she replied, her tone cool, as though rehearsed. He gave her the polite smile of a career diplomat masking suspicion. Uneventful was rarely the truth. Rumors had spread that the Arendorians were testing bioweapons in defiance of Alliance law. His task was less inspection and more intelligence gathering. Saris gestured to a hovering transport platform. They boarded together, the craft gliding silently above translucent thoroughfares. Below them, streams of Arendorians moved in flowing patterns, their robes glowing faintly, their faces betraying curiosity, and a thin veneer of disdain, toward the armored human outsider. Your civilization has achieved remarkable things, Kalen remarked, attempting to bridge the distance. Saris's expression remained impassive. We have perfected our society for 50,000 years. When my ancestors mapped the stars, your kind discovered fire. Kalen's grin was quick, unbothered. And yet here we sit, side by side, as equals in the Alliance. Something flickered in her pale eyes, amusement or irritation, he could not tell. The transport tilted downward toward a facility unlike the elegant city structures. High security walls rose around it, shimmering fields crackling faintly. The complex jutted out into a glassy lake, its surface shifting with iridescent colors. This is the Aquatic Research Division, Saris explained. Her voice had lost its detached calm, now edged with unease. It was not on your itinerary, but a situation has arisen. The Council requires a witness. Kalen arched a brow. What kind of situation? Containment, she said simply. The platform settled onto a secure landing pad. Armed guards flanked the entrance, their four-fingered hands resting on pulse rifles. Every stance radiated tension. Kalen's instincts prickled, this was more than routine protocol. Through a sequence of security gates, Saris led him into a vast chamber. The ceiling soared above them, ribbed with organic lattice that pulsed faintly as though alive. At the center stood a massive containment unit. Bars of alloy interwoven with glowing strands of energy. Inside, the creature shifted. Kalen's breath caught. The being was larger than an elephant, its serpentine body clad in scales that shimmered between indigo and teal. Fins and limbs twitched against energy restraints, and eyes the size of a soldier's helmet, green shot with gold, tracked every movement outside the cage. What in the void is that? He murmured. A leviathan, Saris replied, keeping her distance. An apex predator from our southern oceans. It was captured for study. 2 handlers have died. A figure in ceremonial robes strode forward, his violet skin darker than Saris's, his bearing severe. Vaynor Thalos, director of research, did not bother with courtesy. You arrive at an opportune time, human, Thalos said, voice sharp. This beast has proven unmanageable. The High Council has ordered its termination. Your presence ensures transparency. Kalen studied the Leviathan. It thrashed briefly, the restraint sparking, but he noticed its movements were not strikes but restless surges, almost desperate. And those eyes, there was intelligence there, not mindless rage. What exactly were you researching? He asked. Thalos waved a dismissive hand. Adaptations to deep-pressure environments. Nothing prohibited. The execution is scheduled at dawn. The Leviathan released a low rumble, vibrating the floor beneath Kalen's boots. He found himself leaning forward instead of back. Has anyone tried feeding it? He asked suddenly. The question startled Saris. It refused all sustenance. Kalen frowned. When was the last attempt? This is not a companion animal, Thalos snapped. It is a predator. Its death will preserve our research integrity. The words were cold. Too cold. Something about this smelled orchestrated. When Thalos turned away to confer with his staff, Kalen leaned close to Saris. I need to see this creature again tonight. Her pale eyes widened. Unauthorized access would be unwise. Kalen's lips curved. Then you'll have to accompany me. For the first time, her professional mask cracked, a flicker of surprise crossing her features. You are reckless, human. I've been called worse, he said, watching the Leviathan's gaze linger on him, as if the creature already knew he was its only chance. Outside, Irinder's twin moons rose above the horizon, silver light seeping into the chamber. Dawn's execution order loomed closer with every passing minute. The twin moons of Irinder cast pale light across the curved windows of Kalen Drax's quarters. The station had entered its nocturnal cycle, hallways empty except for the quiet hum of machines. He sat on the edge of his bunk, calibrating his suit's systems one last time. Armor plating, energy shielding, stealth protocols, everything checked out. From a pouch, he removed a slim ration pack and a single protein bar wrapped in foil. A luxury on alien stations, imported from Earth. Something told him it might be useful tonight. The door chimed. He froze. When it slid open, Saris Vera stepped inside without invitation. She had shed her ceremonial attire for something leaner, practical, dark trousers, a fitted vest, utility straps at her waist. Even without glowing armor or weapons, she carried herself with the precision of someone trained for far more than diplomacy. I knew you would attempt something reckless, she said softly, eyes catching the dim light. The luminescent lines across her skin glowed brighter than before, a sign of agitation, or something else. Came to stop me? Kalen asked, slipping the ration bar into his pouch. Saris hesitated, then shook her head. No. I'm coming with you. That gave him pause. What changed? Her gaze flickered to the floor, then back to him. The order for execution was irregular. Leviathans are protected under interstellar accords. Something is wrong here, Commander. I want to see the truth. Kalen nodded once. Then we move fast. They slipped into the service corridors, bypassing the grand, glowing arteries of the station. Saris moved with quiet efficiency, disabling scanners and rerouting security feeds before Kalen even finished watching her hands. You've done this before, he murmured. I've questioned before, she replied. Never acted. Until now. And what changed? She glanced at him briefly, her patterns pulsing faintly faster. You did. Humans, you question what others accept. It is dangerous. But refreshing. They reached the outer ring of the research sector. The main hallways glowed with blue-white light, but the maintenance hatch Ceres unlocked opened into darkness. Emergency lights traced faint crimson arcs across the floor as they descended into the containment chamber. The Leviathan was there. Its massive body coiled, shimmering scales reflecting the dim glow. This time, Kalen did not see a monster. He saw something caged, exhausted, waiting for the end. The creature's golden-green eyes fixed on him immediately. Ceres whispered, "Guards will return in 20 minutes. Whatever you intend, act quickly." Kalen approached the barrier slowly, hands open. "Easy there, big one," he murmured. He reached into his pouch, unwrapped the protein bar, and held it out through the energy bars. "Drax," Ceres hissed. "That's insane." The Leviathan's nostrils flared. In one swift motion, it extended a feeding appendage, not snapping, not attacking. With delicate precision, it plucked the bar from his hand and swallowed. A low, resonant sound rolled from its chest, vibrating the floor beneath them. Kalen grinned. "I think he likes it." The Leviathan pressed its massive head against the barrier, as though seeking contact. Tentatively, Kalen placed his gloved hand against its scales. Warm, smooth, alive with pulsing energy. The creature half closed its eyes, leaning into the touch. Ceres stepped closer, awe breaking through her composure. "Impossible. Leviathans are apex predators. They do not bond." "Then maybe you've all been looking at them the wrong way," Kalen said softly. "This isn't aggression. It's intelligence." Her shoulder brushed his as she drew nearer. The brief contact sparked awareness through him sharper than the hum of his combat suit. Her patterns pulsed rapidly, brighter than before. "The report claimed the handlers were devoured," she whispered. "Yet I never saw the bodies. The investigation was too controlled." Kalen's jaw tightened. "Which means this execution isn't about danger. It's about covering something up." He turned to her. "We need to get him out of here." Her voice was sharp, but uncertain. "That would be treason against the council. Against my people." "Maybe," Kalen said, his half-smile quick and reckless. "But humanity has a saying, dangerous and irrational is our specialty." Ceres's markings flared brighter still, the Arendorian equivalent of a blush. "You are infuriating," she murmured. "And compelling." The Leviathan rumbled again, drawing their attention back. Its body shifted restlessly, straining against the glowing restraints. Kalen looked at the locking mechanism. "Can you release these?" he asked. Ceres hesitated. Her fingers hovered over the console, pale eyes flicking between the creature and Kalen. Finally, she whispered, "Yes. But if we do this, there is no going back." He met her gaze steadily. "Some things are worth the risk." Something unspoken passed between them in that moment, heavy as gravity. Ceres placed her hand on the panel. "Ready?" Kalen pressed his palm to the Leviathan's scales one last time. "Let's make history." With a sharp clank, the locks disengaged. Energy fields collapsed. The Leviathan rose slowly, stretching appendages long confined. It was magnificent, 20 feet of living power, scales shifting in hues of teal and azure. "By the ancients," Ceres breathed. The Leviathan lowered its head toward them, a gesture of recognition. Then the alarm blared. "Security breach in Containment Sector 4, the automated voice droned. Ceres's eyes widened. "They're coming." The Leviathan shifted, lowering its massive body like a platform. "An invitation." Kalen grinned, already climbing. "I think he wants us to ride." "This is madness." Ceres hissed, frozen. "Welcome to humanity's favorite pastime," Kalen replied, extending a hand to her. Her hesitation lasted only a heartbeat before she grasped his hand. He pulled her up behind him, her arms wrapping tightly around his waist. The doors at the far end slammed open. Director Vaynor Thalas stormed in, flanked by security officers. "Stop them!" Thalas roared. "The specimen cannot leave." The Leviathan bellowed, a roar so powerful it rattled the chamber walls. Then it surged forward, smashing through barriers with unstoppable force. Security fire streaked past them, but the creature moved like liquid muscle, weaving between blasts, carrying Kaelin and Ceres into the unknown. The Leviathan tore through the research complex like a living storm, its body weaving between barriers, its scales scattering sparks as energy bolts struck harmlessly across its hide. Kaelin Drax held tight, Ceres Vera clinging close behind him, her arms tense around his waist as the beast crashed through a wall of reinforced glass. Shards scattered like stars in midair before Kaelin's suit shields absorbed the worst of it. The creature didn't hesitate, it surged forward, bursting into a vast atrium. Overhead, Irinder's twin moons gleamed through a transparent dome. Sirens screamed, red lights pulsed, and squads of guards scrambled into defensive formations. Docking bay, to the right. Ceres shouted over the alarms. The Leviathan responded as if it understood. It banked sharply, sliding through the atrium, tail lashing with raw force. Guards scattered, weapons fire trailing behind them. Kaelin leaned low against the creature's neck. "That's it, big guy. Get us out." The Leviathan barreled through a wide hangar gate, bursting into the iridescent waters of the lake that encircled the facility. The shock of cold hit Kaelin through his armor, but his suit's regulators compensated instantly. Behind him, Ceres exhaled sharply, gill-like structures fluttering open behind her ears as though her body had been waiting for the water. The Leviathan cut through the lake like an arrow, luminous trails spiraling off its scales. Behind them, explosions rippled across the facility as pursuit vessels launched, their lights flaring through the depths. "They won't stop," Ceres warned, her voice tight against his ear. "They'll have to catch us first." Moments later, the Leviathan rose, launching them onto a docking platform on the far shore. Kaelin slid from its back, boots slamming against the alloy plating. Ceres followed, dripping water, crimson braid clinging to her shoulder. The shuttle he had arrived in stood waiting, security locks already flashing red. Kaelin raced to the panel, punching in his codes. "Callie, override station lockdown." "Authorization confirmed," the AI chimed. Docking clamps disengaged. The Leviathan rumbled behind them, its luminous eyes fixed on Kaelin. The sound vibrated with something more than animal instinct, it carried intent. Ceres's markings glowed brighter as she turned to him. "He's staying." Kaelin's jaw tightened. "Buying us time." They boarded the shuttle. Engines roared to life, lifting the craft from the platform. Outside the viewport, the Leviathan remained at the lake's edge, massive silhouette framed against the shimmer of the waters. Kaelin pressed a hand to the glass for one last moment of silent understanding. Then the shuttle surged skyward, breaking atmosphere in a blur of light and fire. Space unfolded before them, black void pierced by 1,000 stars. "Enemy warships launching," Ceres reported, scanning the tactical display. "They'll intercept within 5 minutes. Then we'll have to outrun them." Kaelin pushed the throttle. The shuttle strained, engines screaming. The hull shuddered violently. Callie's voice cut in, maddeningly calm. "Warning, debris impact during ascent. Fuel cells 2 and 3 compromised. Estimated life support at current draw, 6 hours. Kaelin swore. "Ceres, shut down non-essentials. We stretch what we can." Systems dimmed. The cabin grew cold, shadows stretching across them as the shuttle drifted on emergency power. The Arendorian warships fell behind, unwilling to pursue beyond their own borders. For the first time since the escape began, silence pressed in. Ceres pulled the thermal blanket from the emergency kit, draping it around her shoulders. Water still clung to her crimson braid, droplets tracing down violet skin lit with faint luminescent lines. "Your human modesty," she murmured, watching Kalen strip out of his soaked armor. "Charming, if unnecessary." He grinned, pulling on dry emergency fatigues. "It's called respect. We're funny like that." Her lips curved faintly. "Funnier than you know." Hours stretched into an uneasy stillness. The shuttle floated between stars, nanites working sluggishly to repair fuel cells. The temperature dropped further, forcing them under the same blanket. Saris's body radiated coolness against him, her skin pulsing with faint waves of light that shifted when she spoke. "What do the patterns mean?" Kalen asked quietly, his gaze following the glow along her collarbone. "Emotion," she said simply. "Uncontrollable at times, like you're blushing. But also, deliberate. A language. And right now?" Her pale eyes met his. The glow brightened, steady and warm. Intrigued. Curious. Drawn. The honesty in her voice tugged at something inside him, something raw. "On Earth," he said slowly, "we'd spend days pretending we didn't feel this. And you don't want to pretend?" "No," he admitted. "Never been good at dancing around the truth." Her laugh was soft, almost musical. She leaned in, her markings flaring like fireflies across a night tide. And when her lips touched his, there was no pretense, only the hum of two worlds colliding in the smallest space. For a time, the void outside didn't exist. But the universe was not merciful. The shuttle's comms cracked to life, a faint, irregular signal breaking through the static. Kalen pulled away reluctantly, scanning the readouts. Distress beacon. 2 hours out. Saris leaned over, her hair brushing his arm. "Not a standard call," she said, eyes widening. "It's a guardian frequency, the same harmonic the Leviathan used." Another Leviathan. Kalen's jaw tightened. "If we divert power, repairs will stall. If it's a trap." Her hand slid into his, cool fingers lacing with his warmth. What would a human do? His grin was grim, reckless, alive. Something dangerous and completely irrational. He angled the shuttle toward the signal, the stars shifting as their path bent toward peril. The Nerith-class transport loomed in the darkness, a massive vessel crawling with hostile signatures. Predator-like ships swarmed it, scavengers with mismatched hull plating and military-grade weapons scavenged from battlefields. Kalen Drax guided the shuttle into the shadow of the transport's engines, masking their approach in its radiation wash. "Pirates," he muttered. "But not amateurs. Look at those weapons." Saris Vera's fingers danced across the sensors. Her markings pulsed in sharp, unsettled patterns. "They're targeting the containment sector. The Guardian signal is strongest there." Kalen leaned over her shoulder. The proximity made him sharply aware of the warmth under the blanket of cold air still lingering in the shuttle. Her scent, metallic, oceanic, was distracting. He forced his eyes to the readout. "Not just a guardian," she said slowly. "I'm reading, human life signs. One individual in the command deck." Kalen's jaw clenched. "Alliance?" The comms erupted with static, then voices. "Your shields are failing," a guttural alien voice sneered. "Surrender the specimen." "This vessel is under protection of the High Council," came a calm reply. "Your aggression will be considered an act of war." Another voice cut in, deep and familiar. "This is Commander Joran Vane. Let's be reasonable. I represent interests who will pay far more for the Guardian than your cutthroat gang could ever dream." Kalen froze. The name slammed into him like a fist. Joran Vane, once an Alliance officer, now mercenary. A man Kalen had trained beside, fought beside, and sworn he'd never see on the wrong side of a battlefield. Saris read his expression. "You know him." "Too well," Kalen said grimly. And if he's here, this goes deeper than piracy. Explosions rippled along the transport's hull as the pirates pressed harder. Shields buckled. Kalen's fists tightened on the controls. We're going in. They breached the transport through a maintenance lock, slipping into corridors choked with smoke and emergency lighting. Sirens wailed. Bodies, Arendorian crew and pirate raiders alike, littered the halls. Disruptor burns scarred the walls. Disruptors are banned in the Alliance, Kalen said grimly, crouching by a fallen guard. These raiders aren't here for ransom. They're here for blood. Sarissa's eyes hardened, her patterns dimming with sorrow. Then we move quickly. They split at the next junction. Kalen made for the command center, Saris descending toward the containment decks. Her parting words lingered, be careful. He knows how you think. The command deck was chaos. Pirates hammered at the reinforced blast doors, sparks flying as cutting torches chewed through the metal. Inside, Arendorian officers barked orders while Captain Dravik Renix held his ground. And at the center console, calm as a man in a tavern, stood Joran Vane, downloading data. Kalen slipped through a service conduit, rifle raised. Hello, Joran. Vane turned, surprise flickering into a sardonic grin. Kalen Drax. I should have guessed the Alliance would send you. He nodded toward Renix. Though fraternizing with Arendorians is new, even for you. What are you doing here? Kalen demanded. Finishing the mission you were too idealistic to understand, Vane replied smoothly. The Guardians aren't animals. They're weapons. Living conduits of energy. Whoever controls them controls the future. Kalen's grip tightened. They're sentient. Not weapons. Vane smirked. Still the Boy Scout. The blast doors screeched as pirates broke through. Gunfire erupted. Kalen and Vane dropped into cover side by side, firing into the breach. For a fleeting moment, they fought like old comrades again, back to back, efficient, deadly. When the last pirate fell smoking to the deck, Vane reloaded calmly. Looks like we're allies. For now. Not for long, Kalen growled. Then his calm crackled. Sarissa's voice, urgent, Kalen. The Guardian, it's not alone. Eggs. Dozens of them. Kalen's blood chilled. That was the truth behind this operation. Not one Guardian, but a breeding population. Containment was a battlefield. Pirates surrounded Saris, who stood defiant in the center, the Leviathan coiled around her. Its scales pulsed with fierce energy as it shielded a cluster of massive, iridescent eggs. Kalen stormed in with Vane and Renix behind him. The pirate leader, a scarred reptilian brute with cybernetics, snarled. The eggs are worth billions. Kill them all. The Leviathan roared, the sound shaking the chamber. Pirates staggered. Kalen raised his hands, stepping forward. They're not weapons, he shouted. They're guardians. Protectors. They respond to kindness, not force. To prove it, he reached slowly into his pouch, pulled out the last Earth ration, another chocolate bar. He unwrapped it and extended it toward the massive head. Is he insane? Renix hissed. No, Vane said quietly, eyes narrowing. He's human. The Leviathan leaned down, plucked the offering delicately, and rumbled with unmistakable pleasure. Its luminous eyes fixed on Kalen with recognition. Sarissa's gaze shone with awe. It knows you. The pirates panicked. Blasters raised. The leader roared. Before he could fire, Vane turned and shot him cleanly through the chest. The chamber went still. The remaining raiders surrendered. Reactor breach imminent, the ship's AI droned. Detonation in 2 minutes. They moved fast. Eggs loaded into specimen pods. The Guardian guided them with care, curling protectively around its clutch. But the launch required manual activation. "I'll do it," Vane said suddenly. His eyes flicked to Kalen. "You get them out." Kalen stared at him. "You'll never make it." Vane pressed the stolen data core into his hand. "Make sure this goes to people who'll understand. Not bureaucrats who'll turn guardians into weapons." Kalen clasped his shoulder once. "See you on the other side." Vane's grin was sharp, sardonic, familiar. "Don't count on it." The pod launched just as the reactor went critical. The explosion lit the void behind them, shockwaves hurling them into space. In the cramped pod, Saris's hand found Kalen's. Did he make it? A second pod blipped onto their sensors, drifting clear of the blast. Kalen exhaled. "Told you humans are stubborn." 3 months later. A sanctuary bloomed on an uninhabited moon, oceans engineered to mimic Irinder's seas, reefs alive with color. Guardians swam freely, teaching their hatchlings to channel radiant energy. Kalen stood at the viewport, Saris beside him in the simple garb of a xenobiologist. Her markings pulsed with quiet joy. He slipped an arm around her waist. "Worth every risk," he murmured. Renex had testified, the High Council relented, and the Alliance ratified a treaty. Guardians were recognized as a sentient species, protected under law. Director Thales, once so arrogant, now languished in exile. The door opened. Joran Vane entered, wearing the uniform of the Alliance Diplomatic Corps. Kalen snorted. "Never thought I'd see you in that." "Times change," Vane smirked. "The press is waiting. They want the story of the man who tamed a beast with chocolate." Kalen groaned. "That headline again?" "It sells," Vane shrugged. "Humanity, making friends, not weapons. Inspiring stuff." Saris leaned into Kalen, her fingers intertwining with his. Her voice was soft. "In Arendorian tradition, saviors of endangered species are given a title. Vtor. The gentle hand." Vane chuckled. "Fitting. The man who petted the monster."